يا ما نفسي عايش إنسان قلبه على كفه، كل اللي بردانين في كفوفه يتدفوا.
RACISM. Racism. Honestly, it's sometimes hard to accept the reality of the world we're living in. And sometimes it's harder to understand. But the only thing that is absolutely undeniable is that we're a part of this world. And we shape it. We make it the way it is. And honestly, the only thing to do is to deal with it. And to deal with the obstacles we're facing. One of those obstacles is discrimination. Discrimination has always been existing, and that's known. And it's also known that it comes in different forms, like discrimination in skin color, gender, nationality, religion, body shapes, and the list goes on and on. What happened to George Floyd has always been happening. And it wasn't exactly ignored, but it wasn't as recognized as it is now. But I'm not going to be talking about what's happening in America because I believe that I'm not aware enough of the issue, because I'm neither a politician nor a historian. And I'm not really sure why this all is happening right now. And I believe that the reason behind these protests is not just the death of George Floyd, but also the many people who are continuously going through a tough time because of racism. So we often think of racism as some people who hate those who are different than them and deal with them differently and maybe hurt them physically or emotionally. And we directly exclude ourselves from this group of racists, and we do that by saying that, oh, I don't hate black people, or I do really respect Christians, or I'm totally okay with a girl covering her head. But I think that stereotypes go so much deeper than that in a way that makes it hard for us to know it. Stereotyping is what makes some white people scared of the black ones. And it also what gives you this satisfaction when you know that the doctor you're gonna meet is from the same country as yours. And it's also what triggers the threat warnings in someone's brain once he or she sees a hijabi girl walking by. So in fact, any of us can be racist, really, without even realizing. And the fact that we're not always aware of our own racist selves should help us understand how big the problem is, and therefore motivates us to look for solutions. But I think that before looking for solutions to racism, first we have to understand the problem itself. I usually think of racism as a mental illness because many racists don't really believe they're racist, like they're being unconsciously racist. And I'm not excusing anybody by saying that. But I can't really understand that racism is still as widespread as it is. Well, it has been illegal since the days of Abraham Lincoln. Like, we can say that someone is rude, for example, according to his or her actions. But we call someone racist according to his or her beliefs and convictions. And that's different and maybe more dangerous, because rudeness is a bad action that can often be controlled and stopped by laws. But racism is an internal belief that obviously cannot be treated by laws, because what laws can do is only prevent the rude actions that result from racism. They don't exactly deal with racism itself. And I think that this is why racism still exists, because laws and legislations have failed to change people's minds. And so once this racist is given the chance to practice his racism, by being an officer, for instance, he or she would gladly turn that racism inside into an external rude action. But let's not get hopeless. I think there are several ways to change our inners. Number one, education. And obviously our education system has succeeded in erasing racism from the entire world.
Little minded, you can't understand that nigga is racist for white man to say for black man.
أنا هسوي الصورة الجميلة. أنت على درس إيه؟
Oh, I'm scared.
Get one of your Mexican friends to play with a pizza. They call it in LA, they call it a vato.
How educational. Talking about the problems facing students and the suggested solutions will take really long. And for that, I'm publishing my first book on education within several months, inshallah. Maybe it'll take a whole year. I don't know, but in the meantime, I recommend watching the amazing movie Freedom Riders. It can help us understand the role of education in erasing racism by providing both intellectual and emotional support to racist students. Number two, getting to know the other. Not only to discover the surprising fact that there are other human beings on this planet just like us, and that we have so much in common, and that we have similar feelings, similar nature, and similar needs, and that no one should be born more privileged than another, but also to get to know our own selves. How? كيف? نصل? Comment? دوية? Do I sound smart? Thanks to Google Translate. In order to understand it, here's a quote by the poet and journalist Rudyard Kipling that states, "What do they know of England, who only England know?" And the answer is nothing. Let's simplify it. Let's assume that Sarah, for example, is in England and she only knows England. She doesn't know the US, she doesn't know Africa, she doesn't know the Middle East. Now Sarah cannot say that England is beautiful, or England is rich, or England is strong, simply because she has to compare it to something else. Maybe England is the worst country in the world, but Sarah cannot realize that until she gets to know the rest of the world. No offense, England, that was just an example. That doesn't sound British. That's not even close to British. It sounds like a fish trying to speak British. Anyways, have I gone too far? Let's come back to racism. So in short, we have to know the other, whoever they are, in order to know us, whoever we are. It's all relative. Racism is about physics, guys. I'm kidding, y'all. Number 3, religion. Now, after the 16 long years I've spent on Earth, I realized that religion, and I'm not talking specifically about Islam, Judaism, or Christianity, religion in general is differently understood by each and every one of us, depending on countless factors. But in general, the way someone understands religion might make him or her the most loving, peaceful human being on earth, and on the other hand, it can make him or her the most racist human being on earth, depending on countless factors. Now, I believe that all religions have originally come to unite us people. But you know, some people use their power in order to exploit people's belief. And those people right here are doing what they're doing in the name of Islam. And those people right here are doing what they're doing in the name of Christianity. And it has nothing to do with their religion. It's all about racism. Racist minds never fail to impress. And there are so many religious teachings that ensure the fact that we're all the same, that there's no difference between us. Like when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, once said, "A man might say to another man, I am more noble than you. Yet no one is more noble except by the mindfulness of Allah." And thank God, mindfulness can only be known by God. So really, we can never tell whether someone is better than another. We can't say that a person is good or another is bad, because it all depends on factors that we can never know. And we always have to take care to be aware of the fact that we are not having the absolute knowledge. And the way we view others depends on what we know about them, which in many cases may not have anything to do with reality. And that's it. I think that the first step to end racism is to look at our own hearts and start working on our own minds. Thank you. Peace be upon you all.